So if you've ever tried to learn jazz, somebody at some point has probably said, now go away and learn that in 12 keys. So this video is about, is that the truth? Is it important? Is there another way? What should you be doing and how should you do it? And how do you benefit from it, if at all? I'm making this video because most Jazz Skills members who've come to me have heard that advice. They've got nowhere with it, been demotivated as this task sounds too far away, and they've just never really touched transposing again. Some do, but most haven't. And I want to explore why that is and why that advice is well-meaning but also flawed. First of all, I want to tell you a story about when I decided to sort my transposing and keys out. I was at a Barry Harris workshop and I heard this voice from the front say, Sean, I'm going to need you to come over here, accompany these singers. And I said, oh no, I know what that means. That probably means I'm the one that's in trouble today, right? And it really did. I soon realized that the conversations I was having with myself or other musicians about keys and transposing was all either before playing or after playing. And this is what I call read or remember skills, not real-time skills. In other words, that's going through your head and you're processing the progressions, the chord progressions that are common to all the tunes and how they function whilst the music is being played. And he said, when I do that to people, they either come back on my next trip and they've solved it, or I never see them again. So I made a decision that day that I was not going to get caught out like that again. And so I decided to learn a tune a day and know all the tunes, all the standards before I saw him again. Well, that didn't work out. You know, there are a lot of tunes. But what I did do whilst I was trying to do that is I developed a framework of functions and the language of this music and how it works. What I didn't realize at the time, but became my Developing Fluency course for Jazz Skills members. And in that, we learn how to decode the language of jazz standards. But I really did it for myself to keep myself out of trouble. And I'm yet to find a jazz standard that doesn't do any of this stuff. But despite how much I've got from that, I don't think that the advice of go and play that in 12 keys is always appropriate. Let me explain before the comment section goes crazy. If you're a level 3, I have 3 levels of student, right? Level 1, just getting started with jazz. Level 2, a few tunes, no real freedom. That's where most people are. They can pick up a few tunes, they can't remember more than the last 2 they played. They always play them exactly the same way. There's no rhythm, there's no improvisation. Level 3, advanced, plays at least 10 jazz standards, can recall them quickly, could go out and play if necessary, right? If you give that advice, go away and play this in 12 keys, to a level 1 or 2 student who doesn't have the language of how does the key of E flat work? What are the chords and progressions that work in there? For a piano player especially, because this advice can be for horn players or for piano players and guitar players, then it's just not landing in the right way. And I'm going to show you practically what I mean by that. If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when there's a new video. A positive comment in the comments section really helps as well. And if it's time to level up your playing and get some freedom, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. More about that at the end. For now, let's get back to the lesson. So my feeling about it and the way we work with Jazz Skills members is very simple. It doesn't need to be 12 keys. In fact, I discourage them from doing that initially. I do that with my level 3 students. We'll sit down and take a standard. I'll play a game with them. If you can play it in the key that I give you, then you can choose any key you want for me and I'll get some practice out of it as well. Yes, level 3. Not at 1 and 2. At 1 and 2, I'm happy if it's more than 1 key. And that more than 1 key for me is as important for a level 1 or 2 as the 12 keys are for the level 3. And I'm going to show you in practical terms what that means on a jazz standard. Because you learn more about what you're doing in the original key, which strengthens you. This is not about what happens if a singer says, can you play, I've got these foolish things in front of me, which we're going to talk about. Can you play these foolish things in the key of B flat for me? It's no good saying, I'm not going to need to do that because I only want to really play for myself, so I don't need to do any transposing. No. If you do just the chords as a piano or guitar player, you're going to learn the functions and you'll know it better in your original key as a result of doing that. You'll stop playing the tune as such and start playing the music, the language of jazz, which you'll be able to build on because now you'll have a foundation of things that are true in every standard. You'll recognize something in the key of E flat that also happened on a tune you played in the key of F. You'll have rules and moves and voicings and improv and introductions and endings and all sorts of things, so you won't have 1,000 data points that are disconnected. You'll start to have data points that are connected to each other, and you massively grow from there as a player. Interestingly, when I was studying with Barry Harris, there were 3 classes. Now, to be really honest, initially I expected to learn the least in the singers class. 30 singers trying to get through a tune, and okay, so what? But actually, the result of learning a tune with often a sketchy lead sheet and then want it in about 8 keys for the different singers. Well, guess what? Those tunes that I wasn't lazy with, that I learned sort of 17, 18 years ago, I can still play if I pick them up, and I don't know which key. It could be whichever key I want because I learned them well. So what do I recommend that you do? I'm going to tell you the story of a student who came to me. So Neil came to me and said, I'd love to play These Foolish Things, but I'm really struggling with it. It's a hard tune and I just can't seem to get through it. This is what we did. First of all, we had a look at it, and it is, as you can see, hopefully you can see, in the key of E flat. I'm just going to focus on the A section between here and here. Okay. Now, he was tripping up all the time. Every time he got to that chord, for example, a B flat minor 7, and he was saying, well, why is B flat minor 7 even in this key? He tripped up on the E flat 7s, mixed them up with E flat majors some of the time, said, why would we get a C7 in this key anyway? And was just struggling. Had played it on his own for about 3 weeks, but still couldn't get through it. So here's what we do. And this is exactly the kind of thing I mean. So interestingly, transposing isn't always about going from an easy place and making it into a more difficult place. Like, for example, learning something in the key of C and then going, right, I've got to play it in E major or E flat major or B flat. It's not always about that. It may be about looking at a tune in a key that he just doesn't know well enough. And that's the real problem. So the first thing we did was have a conversation about, Neil, do you even know the chords in E flat properly? We said, yeah, I kind of know them. I know this is 1 and this is 2. This is 3, isn't it? And no, this is 3. Oh, yeah, but I do know that. And then I think this is 4. No, Neil, this is 4. So already we had a simple issue to fix, right? Well, first of all, let's make sure we know the key of E flat properly. We could do simple exercises to just learn the chords in there. I'm going to do it super fast. I mean, it's not super fast, but compared to how I would expect him to do it, just to get through this video. Could you play me a common progression in there, Neil, like 2-5-1? Well, and there's thinking about it. Is this 2? No, this is 2, because this is what we get in the key of E flat, right? So it's getting those things down first. What are the chords in E flat? And then what are the progressions that come up, even if they include notes that are not in the key of E flat? We're going to talk about that. But let's take a look at this lead sheet and see what we can do, right? So in the key of E flat, we start with a really common progression. So there's a 1 in E flat. There's a 6, 2, 5. Common progression, 1, 6, 2, 5, right? 1, 6, 2, 5 normally leads to 1. And guess what happens next? We get another 1, 6, 2, 5, but this time it's a variation where the 2 is a dominant. Fine, that's common because that just gives us more power of direction to the 5. Because F7 is the dominant of B flat 7, right? So that happens sometimes. And then here's where it got messy. Well, sometimes we work backwards. What's the next chord? Because he said to me, well, this looks messy. I don't know why that's there. I don't know why that's there. Because those have notes that are not in E flat. So we move forward and say, oh, well, this is the next chord that is in E flat, chord number 4, A flat major 7. Well, this is a 2-5 in A flat, but we borrow that 2-5 from the key of A flat, even to lead to A flat when that A flat is in the key of E flat. Chord number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the key of E flat. So now all that's happened is we've had 1, 6, 2, 5, a variation of 1, 6, 2, 5. We've had 2, 5 to the 4. Okay, starting to become a bit more sensible in my head. And then we get a C7. Yes, that's not in the key of E flat either. But you know what? The more we work backwards, the more this stuff will make sense. Let me show you what I mean. This is the end of the A section, a 2-5 progression. But actually, 2-5 functions in music. You'll hear Barry Harris say this all the time. 2-5 just means 5. So while I can't get too deep into that today, I'm just going to put a 5 there because that's the function of it. Well, okay, that means B flat 7 is the real function there. The F minor is just more decorative. Well, F7 is the dominant of B flat again. That's what we had over here. Remember that? So it's that 2 dominant. Some people call it the 5 of 5. Fine. But if we work backwards from F7, C7 is its dominant. So it makes sense that C7 will lead to F7. So we get a little bit of a dominant chain, C7, F7, and then to a B flat 7 function. So that already feels a bit simpler in my head. So when you're not used to thinking like this on the fly, then of course you might say, oh, now you're going to give me all that to think about? I'm better off just trying to read the music. Yeah, but you'll never get any freedom. Yeah. So let's see how we might work. So let's get those written out in numbers, right? So we had 1, excuse the mess, 6, 2, 5, and let's think in terms of time as well. That's a bar. 1, 6 is a bar. 2, 5. And then 1, 6, and next time the 2 was a dominant. Fine. Then we had that 2, 5 to 4 thing. And then we had C7, which in the key of E flat is the 6th chord, but we're turning it into a dominant 7. F7 was next, so I've got to say that's a 2 dominant, and then a normal 2, 5. How many bars do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, pretty messy, but I hope you can bear with me. Now let's look at that in the key that he knows. Let's look at that in the key of C. I'm going to play the tune as well, but I just got him to play the chords. It's not that hard now. That's the 2, 5 to the 4. 2 dominant. Should have made that a 2, 5. I did something else. Fine. So now it's not so hard. So the lesson in that is that the tune wasn't hard for him. So he didn't have to fill in all the potential learning and nourishment he could have got out of it just by learning it like a parrot and then having no freedom. What would have been better, which is what we did, would have been to figure out something about the chord progression, understand what it's doing, and then realize that actually all he had to do was learn the key of E flat a bit better. And now something that he plays in E flat, by the way, now he can also do this. He can also do that in F. I've seen him go, I'll just take the piano apart, the chords. You'll probably hear the tune. Maybe I'll play the tune as well. Let's go a bit quicker. Because it can, why not? He knows the key of F, right? B flat, 1, 6, 2, 5. And then you see, if you go away and learn the 1, 6, 2, 5 variations as well, then you can open it up even further. Now you can start getting some creative freedom, right? So let's play it in a key of C, just because everyone will know. Movements. Now, it's a lot easier to show you movements if you know that you're playing 1, 6, 2, 5 in E flat, right? Let's take a variation. 1, flat 3 diminished. Tritone substitution. We do these in different lessons. But you see how now you can start to get some more creative freedom as well, because you're playing the language, not just the song. So yes, transposing is amazing, it's fantastic, but please don't be discouraged thinking, oh, I've got to be able to do everything in 12 keys, otherwise I'm wasting my time. You're not. Just try and make it more than one, and I promise you, you're going to grow as a musician so much that you'll look back over the last 6 months and you'll be glad that you did. If it's time to level up your playing, then come and see us on Jazz Skills, where we won't just throw information at you, but we'll focus on your transformation and what to do, how to practice it, in which order, with support from me and a vibrant community as well. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.